morning.
Quentin, are you coiled and ready for the big match this evening?
I'm going to Othello tonight, so I shall have to, at half-time, look on my
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 son
telephone.
Jack will be there as well. He's most put out.
Really?
Yeah, there's a school trip. It's for his GCSE drama, so you'll be alongside Jack.
Oh,
so he'll keep you updated,
We can
Quentin.
share a
They'll sit you
shepherd
close.
in the interval.
Yeah, let this guy
That's
go.
funny. I just had to explain to my boys last night that we have a family, like a whole family Christmas dinner on December the 18th. December the 18th
World Cup final.
is the World Cup final, so
We've got our village carol service that day.
It's all go, isn't it? Really?
FIFA would not budge.
You're living life at the edge.
Kevin, you'll be ready, I'm sure, as a big football fan yourself. How are you feeling about it?
Are you?
No, I am. I suppose you think England's going to win by 3 wickets, don't you?
or score a few tries.
I don't mind the football. I think
If England don't win, I'll be very surprised because it's an ageing Welsh team. Sorry for my Welsh friends, but bit of Bale's.
Their experience is with those older players that perhaps, this might be their last tournament, isn't it? Certainly. But what we know from them, and Sean will be able to test this, they have magic still. Gareth Bale can create something out of nothing when he's on form.
It could be a really drab game, heading for 0-0, and then Wales, who've been up against it all game, get a free kick. Gareth Bale scores the free kick. I mean, he is one of the greatest players I've seen. I've seen a lot of live football.
Big moments,
he's
big
past
time.
his best, probably, but he can still conjure up.
Well, look
amazing.
this is how you score a penalty.
Wales are they'll raise their game. They'll battle every inch of and every moment. But I'm going to watch tonight with the expectation England will win.
It feels like things had settled down a little bit. A lot of the political posturing at the start, or the political statements that people were making at the start, had calmed down. The football has been really exciting to watch. And yet we hear that one of our sports ministers, Stuart Andrew, is going to go along to the match this evening, and he will be sporting the Rainbow One Love captain's armband. Kevin, he thinks it's important that he makes a stand. He's gay himself, and he wants to be able to sort of make that stand for LGBTQ. Do you think it's the right thing for him to be doing?
I do, actually. He's sitting in the stand. He's not going to be arrested. He's not going to be locked up. They're not going to rip the armband from him. I think FIFA and the Qataris have made a big mistake by making the issue of removing hats, removing armbands, saying you can't do this, you can't do that. If they'd have just allowed people to do what they wanted to be, who they are, there wouldn't have been a problem. But I think he should.
Quentin, big story in the Times today. Qatari tournament chief accuses the BBC of, quotes, very racist coverage. The head of Qatar's World Cup organisation says aspects of the coverage very racist, accused Gary Lineker of ignoring attempts to engage with the organisers before criticising them on television. His name is Hassan Al-Thawadi, and he condemned the broadcaster for allowing that 3-minute monologue focusing on the country's poor human rights record for women, migrant workers and the LGBT community.
Yeah, I think that 3-minute monologue was a mistake. But I would take the BBC's values over the Qataris every day. And even Gary Lineker, who I think is a bit of a twerp, I would take him over that Qatari minister.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, this guy now accusing the BBC of being very racist. Yeah, it's a clash of cultural values, isn't it? I mean, people have been criticised for making these points but going. Some people say, well, if you don't want to be there, don't go.
But
on the other hand, maybe it's a good thing for Qatar that they did, that they can say, well, we do allow free speech. Yeah. You're allowed to say it while you were here.
Well, actually, in defence or mitigation of Qatar, I've been very critical because I went to the Labour camps and saw the racist exploitation of migrant workers by the Qatari regime. They aren't Saudi Arabia, so they are slightly more liberal. I think Al Jazeera, the TV network, is a force for good in the world. But I can see why they will kick back, because they've got a sports washing. They thought they would get a much better image around the world. But in fact, having the World Cup has highlighted what we would say were failings in their society, the treatment of women, treatment of migrant workers.
And the criminalisation of
But at the same time, of course, it's the first World Cup in the Arab world, it's first in a Muslim country, and so they will say any criticism is therefore racist, but the truth is, values are going to be universal.
But the
and
whole
the
business plan
right to
for
be gay or the women to be free is universal.
These big sports events, it's not going to work in future. We all now understand the way that these things are awarded, and it isn't necessarily everything above board. And, you know, what happens now is that we see through these regimes, and they are not entirely pleasant.